Welcome to High Heels to Happy Feels, where we live soul-led, honor our magic, and walk our wild truths. I'm Natalie,
I'm Stephanie.
and today we're naming the moment most people don't talk about. And that's the moment that you realize no one is coming to save you. And that is not a failure. It's your invitation to lead yourself, even when the path isn't clear. So really have all been taught to look outside of ourselves for direction. The boss who signs off on your next move, the mentor who validates your idea, the universe dropping a clear sign. But sometimes the leadership you're waiting for is really your own. And when you realize that no one's going to spell it out for you, that's when real leadership begins. Not with a title, but with a choice. So let's talk about, we're doing this for the week, so let's talk about the astrology that's going to maybe help us with this.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll dig into the astrology first, and then we're going to come back and talk a little bit about that those leadership bullets, right? And those magic moments and things that we can do. But this week calls for conscious self leadership. So as we're navigating, because it's going to be navigating a series of profound internal and external shifts, with Mercury stationing retrograde and Neptune beginning its backward journey, this is really a prime opportunity to review our the personal narratives and long-term vision. So use these currents to lead yourself with greater intention and authenticity.
And you can almost feel that kind of energy
Oh
in
my
the
God.
like it's been feeding us up to this point where like the energy just feels like you're supposed to be moving. Like, yeah.
And you
Anyways,
can't, you
okay.
feel like you're stuck in that square, right?
Yes,
Like everybody for 2 weeks now, it's like I feel like I'm boxing my way out of a wet paper sack. It's the craziest thing.
absolutely. So that
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Yep. So today is or Sunday. We want you to lead with practicality and purpose. Mercury retrograde is beginning its square to the disruptive Uranus, right? And that communication can be volatile. So instead of being reactive, as a leader, you're going to use that friction as a tool for refinement. The analytical Virgo moon, because we're moving that moon into Virgo, is going to help ground that energy. So, a few recommendations on the leadership, because that is our focus for this whole episode. Lead those difficult conversations with really strategic intention. Reevaluate your core message and how you want to project your personal authority. View disruptions as valuable data because they are. Those unexpected events, um, they can stress test your plans for you, and they will actually help you to make something more successful. And then I want you to take command of your physical and mental space. Channel nervous energy into organizing your environment to better support your goals.
So you make some really great points, and I want to bring up kind of the manifesting stuff that happens
Uh-huh.
when you have unexpected things that happen. That is kind of the plot twist of your life. That is something trying to get you on path or get you to what you're manifesting. Because if we keep doing the same thing every day, nothing is going to change. So that is kind of exciting energy. And that's tomorrow, right?
Yes, that's tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
Yep. And then Monday, so Mercury's beginning to enter that retrograde shadow, right? So you have that shadow period before you are directly into retrograde. So that focus really needs to turn on how we express ourselves. This is going to be a crucial time as a leader to audit your personal brand and create and those creative endeavors that you work on, ensuring they really align with what your core mission is. So, a few recommendations on these. You want to appoint yourself, think of yourself as the creative director of your life. Reassess your projects and passions to ensure they are aligned with the impact that you really want to make. Take ownership of your personal narrative. It's is this the story you want to project to the world and to yourself? Is it truly reflective of who you are becoming? And then practice self-regulation, regulation. I need to work on my own. Practice self-regulation of your communications because you want to choose your words with purpose and speak with the voice of your future self. So don't just be speaking in the now. Think about who you want to be in the future and use that voice.
It almost feels like Monday, we're getting a spine. Like
Yeah.
we're standing up in our purpose. We are going to speak with all of the energy, and that energy is going to be behind us. And we are going to define, redefine, like that plot twist has happened on Sunday or whatever, however that works. But that,
Yep.
yeah, that's
Growing
exciting too.
growing some balls. And you know what? It's really cool because it goes into Tuesday. So with July 1st, you're going to start really forging your alliances. The moon's moving into Libra. So it's going to shift our mood collectively into more of a harmonic and partnership oriented kind of feeling, which is great, right? But you have to understand that effective leadership is also going to include guiding and balancing those relationships to make sure that you're mentally supporting those connections. So, a few recommendations there: proactively lead your relationships by initiating those conversations. Um, build build those with fairness and with respect, mutual respect, not just, respect on kind of that half-ass level. And then take responsibility for the harmony of the environment. That's the Libra part of that. Use all your diplomatic skills to mediate and build those bridges that are going to help you because ultimately they always help advance your goals. So Monday, you're in kick-ass mode, growing a pair, so to speak. And then Tuesday, you're like, all right, now how do I grab everybody and pull them into these conversations with me as
You know,
harmoniously as possible?
and I am picturing, and kind of my witchy friends out there that may watch this, is like you're creating your cauldron. And Sunday, we have all of that great energy and you get to kind of refine and define. And then Monday, you're throwing all of the ingredients in for where you want to go, what you want to be, who you want to do. And Tuesday, we're kind of trying to stir it all together by being the energy giver that keeps things aligned and make sure you're having those right communications and everybody's kind of coming together in a way that suits your taste.
Yep. And it gets interesting because Wednesday, then, so July 2nd, we have square between Venus and Saturn, which is going to test that devotion to our goals. So,
Mm.
Venus is all the love, but Saturn is really what are the lessons. And so it's a call to lead from a place of your deep internal validation rather than seeking external approval, which is huge because any good leader needs to just rely on their own pat on the back. You can't be expectant of things to come to you for as a reward because your integrity is your power. So a few recommendations there: define your own metrics for success. Lead your creative and professional work with unwavering integrity and detach it from the need for praise. If you need praise for it, you're in the wrong spot. It should be something that you just love to do and you feel good about doing. And then commit to your personal mission. If a project or goal feels hollow to you, exercise the self-discipline to pivot um, towards something that really holds true meaning for you.
Yeah. So I want to live in the Sunday through Tuesday. I want all of the energy supporting me and like, yeah, let's do this. Let's go. I
Right?
don't, I don't want to be challenged.
I don't want to be shallow, but it comes around again because then Friday, so July 4th, which, here in the United States will be a celebration of Independence Day, but there's also a lot more going on astrologically on Friday. So Scorpio moon. So that's going to intensify all the emotional landscape, right? And the sun is starting to shift. And so we've got the sun shifting. We've got Venus is going to highlight those conflicts between your nurturing, your independence. There's just stuff happening. And the nice thing is it's Friday. At least here it'll be a holiday. So, leadership recommendations here. You want to lead continually through those emotional intensity and these really highly emotional moments. Acknowledge your deep feelings, but don't be controlled by them. You got to find the strategic advantage that's hidden and take that, right? Because that advantage is ultimately going to fuel your passion even further. So find the strategic point in everything you're doing. You're going to take command of your values and resources. Be ready to make authentic and decisive shifts in how you manage your time, your energy, and your finances. And then practice self-compassion because the fact is, if you're stirring emotionally, so is everybody around you right now. And we've all felt it. Everyone in our community can talk about it all day long about how the last 2 weeks have felt. And so this is really, you got to still practice that self-compassion and compassion for others, and then nurture your own independence by clearly advocating for your needs.
That still seems like so much work.
It does, right?
I love the buildup, but then after I have everything in my pot together, I just want it to work. I don't want
Right? You want to
challenges.
stir it
I
up
don't
and
want
be a
to
good little shake, and that's not always how it goes.
I don't want to advocate for myself. I just want it
Right?
to work.
Well,
But
and so
such is life.
you may not love the end of the week then because
Oh,
I know, I'm sorry, but here it comes, people. You ready? Shadow work. All right. Because Neptune stationing retrograde. And so as it stations retrograde, it's going to be a 5 month period of reevaluating your highest ideals and your spiritual beliefs. And
yeah.
sometimes that can involve, and maybe you know right where that's at. And so the reevaluation is like spot on. I'm just going to spend more time doing it, or it might require that shadow work. So, but ultimately, it's a self leadership opportunity because you are the conscious architect of your own belief system. And that is cool because you are not just agreeing with the patriarchal system or the mega churches or the different things that are happening out there. It is your system of belief. So, some recommendations here: appoint yourself the leader of your spiritual and inspirational life.
Hmm.
Actively question, examine, and refine your core beliefs and long term vision. So, it's an opportunity to really dig in if you haven't before. And that's where the shadow work comes from. Um, Strategically release illusions. So, a wise leader isn't afraid to admit that a past dream is no longer the right destination for their future. And that can be scary because the fact is, when you work on something for so long and you've told everybody you're going to do it, and I'm going to go, I'm moving here, or I'm getting this job, or I'm learning to do this, and then you really deep down know you want to let it go, but you feel like, oh, I'm going to look like a fraud because I've told all these people. Guess what? Who cares? Not our problem. That's one of those things that you have to own yourself leadership for, and you've got to challenge yourself to communicate and challenge to be truly authentic because you've got your own defined purpose as to what you want to do. Let go of the other things because that's part of that let me, let them. That's not about you. And if they've made assumptions or if they say, oh, you're a failure or something like that, that's a reflection of themselves. It has nothing to do with you. So it's a big week ahead, a lot of different things. Obviously, it starts, feeling very bold and strong. And we are going to end with a little bit of that collective, but we do have a lot more coming in mid-month. So stay tuned. And I will say, we'll talk a little bit about the end of the podcast, but we do have I'll have a longer video, an astrological forecast, so to speak, right? It looks like I'm sitting at a news desk when I do it, but um, that we'll be putting out on Sundays.
Which is going to be amazing, but this week already sounds like so much work. Like I just want to do what I want to do and I want everything to just work out. I don't want to do shadow work. I don't want to re-envision. I don't want to redefine.
Oh, but the
It's
nice
work.
thing
But
is,
it's
it's like we're so there already,
I
right?
know it's
So,
so much better than the last few weeks of astro like
yes.
this came from. I know that it's lightening up and this is the time to
Oh
do
my
the
God, it's so lightened up.
definition.
Yeah, there's so
But
many less squares and friction, and we've got so much crap going on, and it is a little insane. But the fact is, eh, it's a down, right? And we are in Cancer. So you have to remind yourself right now, astrologically, the sun is sitting in the Cancer sign. So we are already in a place of emotion and home and love and nurturing and taking care of your family. So glean on that as you're developing these things. Just and by authoritative, you're not a bully. You're not being a giant a-hole to everybody, but what you are doing is saying, no, that's not for me. That's not where I want to go. And owning that and being a leader in that because people will respect when you lead with kindness and you lead with compassion and you're listening to people and actually hearing them, everyone around you is so much more receptive and so much more on board with your ideas. And that I think that is a true leader.
yeah.
It's not somebody who needs an award, who needs a promotion, who, has to have a particular title. It's somebody who will stand up and say, I'm here for the collective, right? But at the same time, I'm here to get things done.
Right. So you're leading with boundaries, your path, your vision, the way you want to do things. And It is so funny every time we do a podcast that we have titled, like, because we haven't titled out, and I know we've talked about this before, but it's so strange that it falls into the astrological line
I know. Every
of
time it's
like
just like,
what
oh, of
supports
course it
it.
does.
We really don't plan this other than we title stuff out. So it's
Right?
just amazing because when we're thinking about becoming our self leaders, that's our true home first.
Yes.
And that's like, we're leaning into our home and building it, the foundation and everything about it, changing the drapes, changing the carpet, changing the paint. Like, it sounds like the time to do that.
It is. It's a time,
Yeah.
it's almost like spring cleaning was late this year. That's
Yeah.
the only way I can describe how it feels for me right now is it's like it's going to be a July spring clean, you know?
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. All right.
Yeah.
So let's take this into a spirit moment.
Please do. Let's hear about that.
All right. So think about it in all of the astrological stuff that we've talked about. So your future self is not going to be waiting like at a finish line or at a point in time. We all the time set goals, and as soon as we hit those goals, we drop off from whatever we've been chasing or attaining, or because we've reached that goal. But remember that everything you have is right here and right now. We are already doing it. We already know what's next. So we really are already leading, and you don't have to wait for clarity to feel like the leader that we've been talking about. I want you just quickly, as for the spirit moment, we're in spirit, we're going to be really talking to our higher selves, our future selves, because your higher self knows all of your timeline. So close your eyes and ask, future me, what's one thing you already know we are ready for? And then listen.
I love that.
Yeah, just, journal on it. Listen, anything that comes up for you. And not necessarily with your mind, but listen with your whole body. Listen to anything that comes through and let that future self lead.
And you know what's really cool as I listen to this because it's such a great reminder about you're already leading. There's a really great song. It's by Jerry Fogarty, Baker Street.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the lines in there is I'll be happy, I'll be happy next year. Right. And I can't
Mm-hmm.
remember how the line exactly goes, but it's
I'll be
always like,
happy when.
I'll be
Yeah.
happy when, I'll be happy when, I'll be a better leader when, I'll take control of this when. When is now? When
Yeah.
is now? If, you sometimes you have to shine or shinola in terms of like fake it or make it in terms of being happy in front of people or whatnot, because we all have moments, but it's not going to be different when you're thinner or you're richer or you're this or you're that, because that part is an illusion. And so when you lead, you're leading, you put yourself out there in that persona. And if you really feel that, if you really feel like, hey, I am this person, I am this leader, I do love these things. If you feel it, you become it. And you're not
Absolutely.
saying 6 months from now, 1 year from now, 2 years from now, right? I mean, yes,
It's
we
not that finish line. Yep.
right. Of course, there's things we have to plan,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I'm
And
saying,
do.
and of course, but living in the moment and being happy, or, oh, I'll do this for somebody for this much longer because A, B, and C, when it doesn't thrill you or make you happy, you have to think about those things. And where does that fit into your picture? I love that.
Yep. That's good.
You're already leading it. That's so good. And the thing is, it's like we're going to blend this in with a little magic because when I was raising my now former stepkids, since I divorced their father years ago, um, we would talk about something. They're like, I don't know. I don't have an opinion or whatever. And I'm like, even if you don't have an opinion, you've just made a choice, right? You've by
Yep.
not doing anything, you've made a choice. And so every time you make a choice without waiting for approval, that's magic.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you trust your own timing, that's magic. If you are just living into it and going, yeah, I know, I'm right here where I'm supposed to be. And sometimes it's hard to stand up and just go, I feel it. Other times you just stand there and you're like, woo, I feel it, right? And
Right.
and you just it depends. But those it's all yours. And every time you lead yourself forward, every time you take that step, with or without a map, but without a map, that's magic. I mean, you're leading. You're already leading. And to Natalie's, I loved that with the future self is already leading. I think that is super powerful.
I think there'll be a really great practice that could go along with this because we've had the spirit moment. We've kind of talked about the magic.
Yeah.
But if you guys need some steps, like write down an area right now that you feel most stuck or uncertain about.
What would you say is yours right now?
Um, my balance,
Balance of standing on 2 feet, balance of time, balance what?
priorities.
Mm,
Yeah, there's
yeah.
going to be a lot of work, and balance has been on my radar for a really long time, but it's really become very front and center because I wasn't paying enough attention to it. So Spirit brought that to me in a very real way.
Oh boy. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did.
Uh-huh.
But when you think about these places though that you're uncertain about or you're stuck about or you're not sure what your next step might be, think and ask yourself, if I were already the leader that I'm becoming,
Hmm.
what would I do next? And then take one micro action as if you already are.
It's just like manifestation, right?
Yes, it is.
I mean, when you're manifesting, and for those that manifest all the time, you're writing it like it's already happened. You're putting it out
Yep.
there like, I already have this, I already do this, I already love this, I already paint this, whatever it is. But you are already doing it. This is the same thing. It's that same principle.
Well, yeah, because and that same finish line principle, because like you and I, we have been manifesting our entire lives. We've manifested ourselves into our homes, into our jobs, into our careers, manifested immersive spirit. Like
Yeah,
we
we
are
did.
constantly manifesting, but there was a time that we stopped and we're like, is this good enough? And
We settled.
that leader died in us
Yep.
because we settled into what we thought what success was determined by our boss, our culture, our churches,
Our relationships. Yep.
and
Yep.
then once we got pushed just a little bit on that edge, it's like we're going to check the spirituality stuff out. Let's see where this might take us. And then we started manifesting everything else.
Yep. And that's so true. That is so true because you have to take that initiative, right? To really
Hmm.
step out. And it is living out of your comfort zone because you do demand more. Do you really want
But
to
it's a
step?
micro step.
It
Everybody
is
can take a
baby
micro step.
step,
Yeah,
baby step.
tiny.
Yeah. It's just being, a little bit assertive about something, about what you want. That's
Absolutely.
that's self-leading, right? That's your self-leadership. So, yeah. I mean, we can get animated and really go off the rails
Yeah,
about
right.
this.
Like
We
we're
could
getting
talk
this
about
close
it,
to going off the rails. We better bring it
right? We're
in.
just going to wrap this up because the fact is we could train on this just from a corporate perspective too, in terms of
Oh
what
my
we work
gosh.
with in teams and
So
uh,
many stories.
right? And I know for some of my team, actually, I think that might listen to this. Thank you. And I love you very much. You know that. They know that. And I hope I'm a decent leader. But I will tell you, just to wrap this up, there are a couple of points. One, you don't need a title. Don't wait for that title.
Nope.
That title, I don't care if you call me the Queen of Sheba or if the Queen of Trash. I've made myself a queen in both situations, you notice. Doesn't matter to me. It's how I feel on the inside. It's how you should feel. It's how you should embrace what you're doing. Do you feel confident in that? You can live in the most beat up trailer park in the world, but you take care of your place. You've got pride. Amen. That's awesome. Love
And
it.
I love that for you because you get to define your own success. What is
You
success and happiness?
exactly, exactly.
Yes.
Or live in the camper, which, as we retire, we may be doing, or all whatever that is. But it's those baby steps, it's those micro steps. Just be proud and own it and don't wait for a title. And you don't have to wait for permission from anybody. So that was part of the conversation there we had just a little bit ago, where if that is no longer your goal or your dream, don't wait for permission from others to let that go. It's not their dream or their goal.
I think an even bigger way to look at this is if you live in a mega mansion and you live on a street where everybody has 5 acre lots and you would prefer to live in a trailer in community with other people who can rely on each other, do what makes you happy. Do
Amen.
not let anybody else define success.
Yes. 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 Because that success shouldn't be measured by what everybody else tells you success is measured by.
No.
You know your own success and what makes your heart flutter.
Yep.
Yep. You just have to choose to lead yourself first. You have to do that. You have to lead for yourself and you have to lead you. A reminder, of course, we have the Mind Reclamation Kit, which is a great starter down this path of really opening that up and getting you to think about a few things. And that's free on immersivespiritliving.com. And I think that's a really good one to help with the mental noise and
Yeah.
clear out the junk, right? Start those lists. And I think for this week in particular, that's a really good one. Just because towards the end of the week with all the reflection points and that type of thing. So next week, though, we're flipping the script on stuckness. Is that a
Okay.
word? I
Which
love
we're
it.
going to be because we're going to be the beginning of this week, like doing a creation, and then we're going to be like, oh, but is that what I really want?
And I hadn't even told you, Nat. I'll be coming to you from a camper in Minnesota.
Oh, well, that sounds exciting.
Right, right. So it'll be fun. And I won't be stuck. I'll be stuck and yeah. But it's the illusion, right? Because you're actually closer than you think. And when we think we're stuck, it's just kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? What's the astrological one? It's not Mercury retrograde. It's
When you think you're stuck?
yeah, boxed in like we were like a square, I guess it would be, but when your aspect is a square. But when you think you're stuck, you just are like, why can't I get out of this? Why am I always in this situation? You're really not. You're right on the precipice. You're right breaking through. There's probably something right there that's triggering it and you're just not seeing it. So,
Okay, so she's clearly killing the podcast for next week because she already knows kind of the astrology that's going to happen. So everything just aligns for us. Here we go.
right. Yep. So make sure tomorrow to hit our YouTube channel at Immersive Spirit. I will have the astrology for the forecast for the week in deeper, a little more depth, and then of course for those that are our members, they'll have their email coming out, but the video will be the big thing going forward for us. And sure, I'm missing a bunch. ImmersiveSpiritLiving.com, like we mentioned for the Mind Reclamation Kit. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go subscribe. Please, please, please. I'm going to beg. I'm starting to beg. And
Well, if if we've been doing a lot of house clearings and real estate clearings recently.
oh yeah,
So
lots of
that seems to
paranormal.
be kind of a theme that's coming up, especially with people moving around. So
Uh-huh.
if you're a realtor that needs help with one of your properties that won't sell, if you have a haunted situation or you just don't feel good in your own home, we're always available for that too.
Absolutely. Because we are seeing a very big uptick right now in energy issues. and
Yes, we
and
are.
and some paranormal things. So yeah, here to help however we can. Reach out, immersivespirit.com, or you can always email us. All the details are always in the podcast. So have a great week, everybody. And this from high heels to happy feels. I'm Stephanie
I'm Natalie.
with Immersive Spirit. We're so grateful to have had you here. Have a fantastic week ahead, and we'll see you next Saturday. Bye bye.